Thank you so much, Daryl Breath. We are so excited to be here on today. We have a great guest with us on today. Judge, attorney, pastor, administrative assistant, founder of the Yes Group for college students. He is a very effective organizational leader. He is a very effective attorney, judge, and this individual is here to try to help you to become more successful in your mission. Attorney Anthony Parker, we're going to hear from him in a few seconds. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Daryl Breath for this opportunity, Boston, Massachusetts, and the one and only Minister Donnie Savage. You guys are doing a great job bringing topics and solutions to individuals throughout the week and on Saturdays. And I am your host, Attorney Sheila R. Stewart, Legal Views. My office is located in Clayton, 231 South Bemiston Avenue, Clayton, Missouri, 63105, Suite 800. I am broadcasting live from a beautiful country club golf resort. So I'm not at home or I'm not in my office, but I'm having a great time. But I could not let this moment pass without having an opportunity to meet with Attorney Parker. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I wish I could get to that resort one day that you're at. It sounds like you're a fabulous place. And but I am honored to be with you right here, and I'm very touched.
Well, you have done some tremendous things in your state as well as in the national church. You have been a premier presenter on Law Day for the Church of God in Christ and have done a phenomenal job. You've just been very successful and effective in almost in everything that I know of that you have done. And today we're going to provide you all that are tuned in with some great information to help your church, your business become more successful and effective. Now, how many of you that will see this feed, that see this show, you're a pastor and you've been in ministry for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and the pews are empty? Now, with the COVID-19 problem that's reemerging, many people aren't coming back the way that they once did. So how do you get people back in service? Okay. How do you reignite your church and inspire people to become participants? One of the solutions that we would like to offer you today is how to use your church to transform the criminal criminal justice problem that we're having with individuals having records and needing expungements. And so we want to give you some solutions for this. One of the issues that I'm seeing, I live in St. Louis County, but St. Louis City is one of the most violent places there is, okay? St. Louis City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, California, Chicago. Many of these places are the epicenter of crime. And so what can you do as a leader to diminish this crime? You have a role to play. And this role that you can play can make the difference in the lives of many people. If you are struggling with membership, we want to give you some service delivery ideals and some financing ideals to create a greater streams of income and to grow your membership, and more importantly, to help individuals recover from where they are. I am going to turn it over to you at this time, attorney, judge, pastor, administrative assistant Parker, and let's talk about how we can use the church in the criminal justice arena to transform things.
Yeah, you know, and as you were talking, this came to my mind. The church, you know, whether we want to or not, we are thrust in, we're involved. And sometimes we don't really realize the what we can do to take advantage of this. And I'll give you a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the church, my father was a pastor. It's bound to happen to almost every pastor. You're going to know somebody that's involved in the criminal justice center system. And what happens? It always happens. You'll get a call. The pastor will get a call either from somebody who's been in jail. Hey, can you bail me out? Or somebody who has to do a court appearance. Pastor, can you come speak on my behalf? And a lot of times these are either members or children of members.
Mm-hmm.
The criminal justice system it becomes part of us. We become affected by it and involved in it, and sometimes involuntarily. Or let me give you this other example, and we'll go to some solutions. How many times when people are running for office, what do? They call the churches. They want to talk to the churches. So we're thrust into it. Now it's time to become more involved in it, so that we're not only we're doing a couple of things. We're doing the Jesus Christ mission. We're seeing people become part of it, the church, but we're also helping the crime problem. Attorney Stewart, I started thinking about some basic things, and this conversation can go a lot of different ways. But one thing that I wanted pastors to start doing is, first of all, getting involved and knowing about the criminal justice system. Basic things. You get calls from friends or parishioners. Pastors should take the time out and know the various courts. When it comes to criminal law, you may have city court, county court, state court. It's time to know the differences in the court, which crimes are charged in what courts. It's time to become educated. And it doesn't take a lot to become educated. Someone can sit down and explain to you how the court system works. Judges want to come. They want to speak. It's time to get to know more about the individuals who are actually running, that are making the decisions. Because what I find out a lot of times are promises are made to get elected, but do we follow up to see if promises are kept? A person will come in your pulpit and say, or nowadays it's pandemic, your Zoom service or whatever, Facebook service, say, hey, vote for me. Once that person's elected, do we ever stop, not because somebody's in their courtroom, but just to go to the court and observe and see if they're doing what they promised to do? So the first thing is to become involved, know the lingo, know the different courts, know the different judges that are presiding over cases, so that we can become more aware of things and have more knowledge when we get those calls. So there's just some basic things that we can start with.
Okay. What do you think the issues are that's causing the church to take more of a backseat role? What can we do? Let's give some solutions or some strategies, because trouble is going to knock at the door at some point. And when the trouble knocks, you want to have a relationship with the prosecutor. You want to know something about the criminal justice system and how your church has played a role in the community. For example, if you have a church that's in the middle of the city of St. Louis, Detroit, some of these high crime areas, have you connected with those leaders in those areas? And if you have not, what are the barriers that are causing you to have, to take a backseat role? Can you assist in giving some suggestions or some ideas to the leaders on how they can work to connect with these different entities?
Yeah, I can give you some specific suggestions. First of all, what I'm coming to find out is that what pastors have to do is they have to set aside time for what I call is for some of our civic duties, because there are a lot of task force. So let's take it on a city level. I'll just talk elementary. You have mayors, right? A lot of times, mayors, a lot of times, whether you have county leaders and even court systems, they will have faith advisory task force. One of the first things you need to do is, when the city you live in, the village you live in, you need to find out, simple phone calls. Do you have faith advisory boards? There's so many times that there's these boards and committees that are put together and only a few select pastors or elders are on there. And that's where you get to learn a lot of information, because what happens is people realize the religious community is a key to a lot of elections. We have access to people, right? And so part of the promise is, well, we'll keep the church involved. One of the big things, court systems sometimes do it too, faith advisory boards, becoming a part of them so you can get at the table. So when decisions are made, I want to be there. I want to know what's going on. And we have to do that. A lot of times, yes, and that is kingdom work. That is Jesus' work. Why? Because our parishioners get involved in the system, and we can't wait until trouble comes to want to get involved. When you get a part of these advisory boards, you'll go into some of these meetings and you'll start seeing at the table are representatives from the governor, representatives from sometimes from federal court systems, different court systems, and you get to know people. That is one thing that pastors have got to start doing, getting part of these faith advisory task force.
That's excellent. And why do you think that so many of them are reluctant to be involved, to get involved? How do we change that scenario going forward and make things different for them so that they will begin to see that this is so imperative? You're a pastor, what do you think the barriers are that causes so many of them not to get involved?
I'm going to tell you what some of the barriers are. One thing is, a lot of pastors don't know these things exist. Now, I'm an attorney, and I started learning about these things. You would start seeing in the paper, this group of pastors met with the mayor, this group, the judges met with this group. I'm like, what group? What group? A lot of the barriers are we don't know the knowledge. And unfortunately, let me slow down. In a lot of our cities, we have pastoral alliance groups. But if that pastoral alliance group does not maybe represent your denomination, you may be hesitant to join it. If you don't know other pastors who are members of it, you don't join it. And what happens? A lot of times the information is sent to pastoral alliance groups, because think about it. Politicians, judges, whatever, sometimes they don't want to have to try to find every single pastor, call up every single pastor. So they hit pastoral groups and they give that. But if you're not a part of it, you don't get the information. So a lot of the barriers are we're not part of groups. Then if you don't want to be a part of groups, whatever one, there's nobody out there. When I started becoming pastor, there was no Legal View a program like this that's telling pastors, get up and do this. So barrier one is lack of knowledge. Number two, we're so used to just pastoring where we are in our community, in our block, preaching, and it's a lot to do. Preaching, we're pastoring, some are bivocational. But when I talked about taking out time for that civic, we have to have people such as yourself, such as myself, telling them, no, you've got to do a little bit more than that. If you're not going to be part of groups where the information is, you've got to start making calls and finding out, how can I be a part of some of these groups?
Okay, very good. And I think it would be good to have classes at events, at some of the meetings that really try to get the understanding over that this is of an imperative nature. This is a very serious situation, because with the rising numbers of crime, We must take the lead in this area. Okay, we have to start taking the lead and not just be a part of it, of hearing what's taking place, but take the lead on these issues and to try to help create solutions to make life better. Because the church is the only institution, in my opinion, the church is the only institution that can change what is taking place around in society. We have the tools, we have the prayer life, we can make a change, but we have to do it also through these civic groups and getting involved the way that you're sharing.
And one of the reasons why we can make a change is because what the church offers, which is different from a lot of agencies, is that the church offers the power for the individual to change. Because you can do a lot of wraparound services. You can offer people that are trying to do reentry. You can offer them jobs. You can offer them X, Y, and Z. But if their mindset is not changed, they're not in the mindset to take advantage. Because a lot of our young people, and I see it more and more, a lot of our young people are entering the criminal justice system at such a young age. And then they're being young age, they're doing crimes, and there's a big push to then try them as an adult. I was just in court watching a young juvenile now being sent down to the county because he's going to be tried as an adult. So now he's in county jail with a lot of older people. Okay. And a lot of these young people did not grow up in a family setting where they went to Sunday school, went to X, Y, and Z. What the churches we have the power to, that change agent through the power of Jesus Christ, to help change the thinking of the person along with the wraparound services. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. And what I'm talking, I'm gonna give you an example of what I tried to do. So I knew a person that got in some trouble. A young person gets in trouble in the court system. Okay, and because a couple of things that pastors have to be aware of. I'm gonna throw these out. You are right about seminars. One seminar that needs to happen is to tell pastors how to be effective in court. When people call you and say, hey, I need to come, you need to come and speak to me at court. Before you go to court, you need to do some homework. What are they actually charged with? Okay. You know, are they pleading out? Are they going to a trial? Because sometimes pastors have such a bleeding heart, whether male or female, they show up and they're ready to just to, they're great. They're this and that. Let them off. And then when they get there, they find out what they're really charged with. And they're like, no, know what they're really, really charged with. And I would not speak on behalf of anybody that I really don't know or have not interviewed or their parents were. You've got to know things. But this young person, I knew. I knew. And what I tried to do, because I was able to go in, and this is key, because I'm not one of those who's always showing up and I don't know the person, there's instant respect from the judge. Knew the judge, knew what, knew something about the judge. The judge had respect because they said, wait, if Anthony Parker's showing up, he knows what's going on and really knows the person. And then when they went to put the person on probation, I had a proposal that said, as part of the probation, the individual must do spiritual advising and counseling through our church. Made that a proposal and so when the attorney got up to argue for probation, Your Honor, if you will put them on probation, we have a faith partner, a church that says, in addition to meeting to the probation officer, they have to do community service through the church and meet with the church. That weighed. And the judge like, okay, so then we had to submit a monthly report to the court on how the individual was doing. And the individual was able to be let off probation early. Those are the kinds of things that a church can do. If you're involved, you can set up a system where you can do proposals to try to do, hey, why? Because if a person's going to be reformed, a lot of times they either get out of prison or say if they're on probation, and we want them reformed, right? But they're not working with anybody to help reform them. Part of the reason why we wanted them to come in through church spiritual advising is we want to be the persons that help you with your thinking. Your thinking must change in order for your behavior to change. And that's just an example of what churches could do in partnering with courts.
So how do you put this probation plan together? What would be your suggestion? I know you can't give them all of the information and the analysis that go with that, but because we have young people, we have a lot of young people that are being raised by their grandparents.
Yes.
And when these young people get in trouble, these grandparents are overwhelmed. They do not know what to do. They do not know who to turn to. If that church acts as a catalyst for that family, for the judicial system, that church can put that plan together to try to keep that young person from getting 20 probation versus 20 years. What type of items or information would you recommend would need to go into that plan if a church was to submit a probation plan to assist a young person to keep them out of prison?
What I would suggest, I'm big on advisory boards, right? I'm big on that community advisory boards. A church that was interested in that, I think every church should have. Let me do a little spiel real quick. This will be real quick. I believe that every church should first put together an advisory board, advisors who will volunteer their time. So think of every area that a church has to be involved in. They have to, medical, we always have medical things. So find a nurse or doctor that says, hey, I need you on our advisory board because we're going to have issues. It was really big during the pandemic. We need to figure things out. Need you on advisory board. What else? If you could find somebody from law enforcement, hey, a policeman or anybody. Our church, we need to understand how enforcement works. So you get the idea. Insurance people should be on there. Somebody from a funeral home should be on there. If you start thinking about the different industries that churches get involved with, you should have an advisory board from so many industries. Well, you should have a probation officer, a parole officer, an attorney on an advisory board, and a bail bondsman, because saints never know how bail works, okay? Have an advisory board, and you would say, listen, we want to know how probation works. An attorney, we want to know how probation. Sometimes judges or magistrates don't mind being on advisory boards. And you would go to them and say, hey, if we had a situation where we wanted to partner with a court, and we wanted to, as part of probation, we wanted to be part of the reforming process because, and this is the plan that I modeled myself after. AAA. When you person goes to Alcohol Anonymous, what do they give them? A sponsor, right? So I think of it as a faith sponsor. Our church wants to give people faith sponsors. And when you talk to a probation officer and they begin to show you the plans that are drawn up for individuals to successfully complete, you can almost use that as a template, but you're giving the faith part. Hey, on plans, a lot of times they have to do community service. Well, we have community service. We need the church. We need the grass cut. We need tables, chairs set up. You can do a community a service point. We have preachers or missionaries that don't mind meeting with them once a month to see how they're doing and make sure they're in Bible study. So what I'm saying is you can use partners from society, probation officers, attorneys, magistrates, and sometimes prosecutors don't even mind being part of a faith advisory board. They can help you develop a plan that makes sense that you could submit to a court. And I'm telling you, if more people do this, this can work on different levels, community level, county, and especially juvenile level. They're always looking for faith partners. And if you can contact the juvenile court, get to know the judge and say, hey, if on special circumstances, if you think our ministry could help a juvenile, contact us. And as part of their whatever, what they call it, probation, community service, if we could be a faith sponsor, let us know. I'm telling you, the more you do that, the more people you meet, and it can affect growth in a congregation.
Absolutely. So what role, and just in a few sentences, what role would you say the advisory board play holistically? Because many pastors may be resistant to having all of these outsiders serve in an advisory position because they may not see the huge benefits that you just laid out. I mean, the benefits outweigh the apprehension totally. So in a few words, so that some people can get it, what do you think would be a good summation of the role of an advisory board for this church, any church?
So, first of all, what pastors have to understand is this board that I'm talking about, not asking them to lead the church or direct the church. They're there to help you make sound decisions. So you have to think about it. They're thinkers. They help you make decisions. So pastors get a lot of calls. Pastor, man, I'm having a problem with my mortgage. I need some refinancing. They call pastors for everything. Pastor, I'm about to go through to surgery. Do you know a good doctor? Think about the questions people ask you. And what do pastors start doing? They start calling, trying to find somebody who knows about real estate. They try to find somebody who knows, Pastor, I got to move out. I need a house to move into. They start calling, trying to see who knows about house. Hey, does anybody know about mortgages, houses? Does anybody know how to draft a will? This advisory board are instant people that a pastor can call to help answer questions in areas you know nothing about. They're just there to assist you help pastor your people, but not make decisions for your church. So they're not a church board. They're there to assist you with advice.
Okay. And that's good, because I think the resistance and the apprehension is that. With many leaders, they feel like they're looking into their business, they're looking into their information. I don't want them to know what we do. It's none of their business. And I think without the clarity and the understanding that you just gave, many people will hear what you are saying and overlook it until trouble comes. And then when trouble comes, basically all of the people that you laid out that should be on the advisory board, those are going to be the individuals that they're going to ultimately reach out to. And I think we're happy to see that Deescalation Rogers is listening in to the information. She is a wonderful leader, and we are grateful to see that she's listening in. Now, how do you transform the community that you are sitting in? So your church is sitting in this particular community, right?
Yes.
And you have the drug dealers, you have meth, you have the carjackers, you have prostitution. And then the preacher, the pastor on Sunday mornings, he's speaking to about 5 people, his wife and his 3 kids, okay? And maybe the mother-in-law. And that's the extent of who that's coming in. Now, we're not putting him down, not whatsoever. However, how do we get all of these people that's on the outside, drugs, carjacking, and then bring them in using some of this information as a carrot? You know, we can help you get your records expunged. We can help you obtain leniency with probation. How would the pastor start the outreach to this community that's around him? Or her?
You know, I'm not going to pretend like I know the magical answer to all of that, but I can give some examples. For instance, so you said expungement. Sometimes pastors have to stop, and I have to do this because I'm doing this. You have to stop and say, what area in those things that we named is their passion for you? Say if you have a passion, I want to see people's records expunged and things of that nature. There are agencies, okay, that are doing these things. There are agencies that try to offer work or try to offer treatment to drug addicts. There's agencies that are trying to work with people who are trying to be reformed from gangbangers. Sometimes from gangs. Sometimes pastors, not sometimes, we always have to stop and research the agencies that are around you. You've got to know who's doing what in the area that you're in. And that's one thing that I'm really going to be harping on in this season in my area, because once again, we're at our church, but do we really know what's going on in our neighborhood? So there may be, say, for instance, a legal aid, somebody that's saying, hey, we do expungements. You call that agency up and say, we want to partner with you for a clinic that where people can come and learn about expungement. And you say, you know what, we want to offer our church as a venue. We'll provide the donuts, the coffee, whatever, so that the community, get this, ends up coming to our facility, okay? Mm-hmm. They hear a seminar about expungement. You've just made a partnership, but guess what you've done? You've gotten people inside. We need to start partnershiping with agencies that align with our heart. If you want to help people get reformed off drugs or different crimes, you've got to start partnershiping. Find where the people are. There are people in homeless shelters that go through programming. That's how a lot of people are getting grant money. A lot of companies or nonprofits are propping up that say, we offer X, Y, and Z, so give us dollars so that we can help that one. Find those agencies out, because a lot of times they need a faith partner, they need a venue, and you call them, how can we partner? I give a perfect example. There's a city mission in our city. And I wanted to start helping more with children. I want to do more with young people. I called them up. What can we do? They said, you know what? In October, we have homeless children, single mothers and children. We shelter them. But in October, we like to have trunk or treat for the kids. Mm-hmm. Can you host it? All of a sudden, it's like, wow, I'm about to get access to over 50 children. We've got to go beyond the walls, start looking at agencies and partner, and find out where the clientele are.
And most of the time, the clientele is right there in front of you. Especially if your church is in the urban corridor. It's plentiful. It's plentiful. And we have several programs that's taking place here in St. Louis with the senior vice president of the Urban League. His name is James Clark. He's going to come on in September, and he's created so many initiatives that draft the church in to become this catalyst within the neighborhood, and constantly bringing in different initiatives. One of the initiatives that he has, and then I think this initiative is very fascinating. This may be something that you're interested in. It's called a Deescalation Center. This is where gangs and individuals that have severe conflicts to the point of shooting each other and murdering each other, they have $5,000 hit. Some of these young guys, they'll take a hit we'll put a hit on you for $5,000. And before you can even get it straightened out, they've collected their $5,000, and that hit has been placed on that young man's head. And so these de-escalation centers, the church becomes a place where the individuals can come with a trained individual to resolve the conflict. And Mr. Clark has been successful in resolving all of the conflicts. So what they do, they call the de-escalation center, because most of them, they don't want to die. They don't want to get shot. And we're able to talk them down out of this conflict. And so that is something that now all churches would not be, suited for that. But that you would have to have a call and have the passion to do that, to work with these different conflicts, gangs, and young people in the street that are determined to kill someone for this $5,000 or $6,000, and that church becomes that catalyst to bring peace, to resolve those issues.
Yes. And there's something that you spoke there when you talked about passion. Pastors have to pray and think about, what is my passion? What is it that I want to do? That de-escalation center, that became part of the passion. And all of a sudden, they're in that community making a difference. That is a great idea. And the kind of platform that you have right now, people like myself are going to hear about this and think, wait, maybe that is something that I can do. That is great. That is an awesome initiative.
Every church that sits within the radius of high crime area needs to adopt an initiative for a de-escalation center, okay? And it doesn't have to be their building, but they need to be the faith partner that gets involved, because we can't change the rise in the crime rate. We can change it. There's no reason why we can't change it.
That's right.
And we take on some type of ownership when we see individuals being shot. I don't know them, my family don't know them, but we still need to take on some type of ownership and say, what could I have done within this facility, within this area, to prevent a death, to prevent a murder? And it comes down to these initiatives that you are discussing.
It does. And you know what else I'm finding out? And a lot of things I'm talking about are things that I just had to pray about and hit me, because things I overlooked. How often do we overlook right in our churches? We have people, by the grace of God, who've been reformed from some of these areas. We need to have talks with them to help us get some of these ministries going. A lot of pastors, you may not have been from the streets, you may not have been in drugs, may have been in gangs. Connect with somebody who has, if it's part of your passion, so that they can help be a driving force in getting some of these ministries going. Sometimes the answer is right in our congregation.
Yes. And I think many people, some people, I won't say many people, some people are ashamed or embarrassed of their past, and they don't want people to know that they are ashamed or embarrassed of their past, so they may not want to share any information what they've done. And I think it's imperative that if they have this information, they can assist another young person to save a life, that it would be great if we can get those individuals involved. But, they don't want that information out. They want to forget the past and move on.
Move on. And I'm finding out that, number one, that is true. If the people that may want to share it, what happens, I'm finding out in this season, transparency is a key, and it starts at the top with leadership. I'm not saying everybody's got to start spilling their business on the street, but when people in a church know that a leader does not mind being, to the right extent, transparent, because how often is it that we go to church and sometimes we think we're the only one who's messed up, we're the only one who's had a past, so we want to keep quiet. But when we get more leaders who don't mind being a little bit transparent to let people know, we've all maybe, I'm saying maybe, that may create an atmosphere where people might say, okay, let me share some things. We've got to win souls. And I'll say this, and I'll stop, because you are called to help win somebody to Christ. And some of the people that you can reach, I can't reach because I don't have that testimony. We need your testimony to help us do a nice programming to help win souls and help be part of a reformation of the criminal system.
That's awesome. A reformation of the criminal system. You are tuned in to Legal Views with attorney Sheila Stewart, and I have with me today Pastor Attorney Anthony Parker, all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, who's doing a great work in his city and in his state. Pastor Parker, can you give our listeners and viewers information on how they can contact you, your office number, and where you're located?
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. The best way to contact me, 216-513-4007. 216-513-4007. What I did, this is just perfect time, because what I did, I was doing a lot of consultation on the side, Attorney Stewart, because I said with me being a magistrate and a personal bailiff to a county judge, I had to go ahead and set up the ATP Legal Group LLC. And what I do is I specifically work with pastors in churches, not only on programming, but making sure their corporate structure is set up. And I started doing the People for Your Life conference, which are seminars from a legal perspective to help pastors out so they can understand some of these issues. That's my passion. That's why I'm so emotional being here. And I got to say this, you are people for my life. You are people for my life. The way you've inspired me and just having me on this program and the number of things you have done for me, you are a godsend. You didn't know me from Adam. You met me on the West Coast, and you've been a blessing to my life. And you are one of the inspirations why I do the People for Your Life conference, because it's people like you that saw something in me. And I do this conference to help pastors out and leaders out. We can affect people. People have to know that we care, not just about their talent, not just about their resources, but we care about them. And that's how we can begin to change the mindset of people so that their behavior change. They have to know we care about them. We don't want you in the criminal system. We want you to successfully complete probation. If you've been released from prison, you don't have to go back. We care about you.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you give us the mission statement for People for Your Life and how individuals can access that and get involved to get the assistance that they need?
Yes. Once again, you can phone number is 216-513-4007, or my email ATP, that's A as in Anthony, T as in Theodore, P as in Parker, ATPword@gmail.com. And the People for Your Life, God sends people for your life to make a difference in your life and then in the world. He specifically, strategically places people in your life for your life so your life can be better and so that you can then impact the world. And it's a concept that I look at in when you read in the passage of the scripture, the man who was on the bed, he was laying on the bed and people carried him to Christ. They couldn't get in the house, so they had to tear the roof off. These were people for his life. They believed that their friend did not have to just lay crippled anymore. And God will put people in your life to say, you don't have to be crippled. And if we have to tear the roof off, we're going to get you to Jesus. If we have to tear the roof off, you will get employment. If we have to tear the roof off, you will get your GED. You will get your diploma. It's not too late to be a success. People for your life.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. That is a not-for-profit that hopefully you are spearheading throughout the country. Is it just there in Cleveland, Ohio, or are you taking it nationally?
It is my goal to take this nationally, because we started doing this and just started doing ministry, and now we're actually setting up the business part of it. Making it my nonprofit that I work through is Rhema Yes, that helps sponsors the People for Your Life conference, and we're trying to take it across the country so that when we have our next session in September 18th, a Saturday, you're gonna see marketing. We're gonna be trying to market it throughout everywhere, throughout the country, to let people know they can tune in. Because what I found out through this pandemic season was, and it's not that it's nothing new. None of this is new, but it really hit us hard. With so many deaths and things happening, so many people were trying to grieve and do business at the same time. Grieving your young person who was shot. We had a lot of young people who not just died. Can you imagine this? Not just dying from the pandemic of COVID-19, but crime was still going on. So you've got people who are dying. Then they're trying to go through, well, how can we have a memorial service when there's COVID? But then people don't know where insurance papers are. They don't know if the person had insurance. They're trying to put wheels together. So the Lord said, through the People for Your Life, do a conference on preparing for the future, telling people basic things that they need to start putting in place now, so that when death comes, you don't have to worry. You still have to take care of business, but some of the things will be in place so that we can grieve. People still are not going through the proper stages of grieving because they have so much business to deal with. And that's what People for Your Life is about. We're trying to help people with practical things.
That's amazing. And I think many people, you call it practical things, but we have forgotten the practical things and have made practical things just unheard of. And you see almost everyone has something happen. You see a GoFundMe fund and just different ways that people are trying to generate income through social media platforms.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this? This whole GoFundMe, the whole Cash App era. I mean, I'm from an era where I believe in working and not, asking, putting my Cash App up and, I say 5 or 6 things. I've never put my Cash App up on any of my shows, and I don't intend to. I'm not putting people down that do that, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on this whole Cash App era. It's my birthday. Cash App me. Really?
Well, the thing about it is, and my staff is trying to work on me because we're so much alike. First of all, the whole social media thing, I've never been a person that's tried to do a lot of self-marketing, if that makes sense. It's hard for me to do that. So self-promoting. So it's not going to be for me to say, hey, I'm trying to do this, Cash App me, boom, 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 boom. There's a couple of things that, first of all, with the social media, with the Cash App, I'm always concerned because people are hacking everything. I've got so many stories of people their cash accounts have been hacked, money's been taken out of their accounts. Then they tried to call Cash App, couldn't get through. So people should always be concerned about that. The other thought is, and I don't know if you feel it, Attorney Stewart, but there's people pressure you to put your Cash App out. Well, we want to bless you. We don't know how to bless you. And I'm like, well, isn't there some other way? So I'm kind of in between on it. It's like almost there's a pressure to do this through social media, but I'm yet reserved. So I think we think a lot about on that. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I think that we have to prepare for the unknown. I think we have to prepare for, we can see a lot of the things are society, the pandemic, the different COVID variations and so forth, how businesses shut down. We want to create people that are more effective and that can make it through these obstacles in life and become successful the way that, and I guess what I'm trying to say, I think the classes and the seminars that you're offering on insurance and savings and all the different things will create that success for these individuals, whoever they are, including myself. And I just think we need to take more advantage of these things. And that's why I'm putting these types of programs out there, because when things really, really, really get tough in this society and it's headed that way, people are not going to cash app you. And so what is your fallback strategy? What's your fallback strategy? What are you going to do next in life? So I think the information that you are giving, having these different seminars where individuals can get information. You can go on my Facebook page. All of this information is free, and you can access it so that you can be a better you. I'm bringing people on that have information that they can share with you that can help you or someone in your family get to the next level, hopefully. Now let's talk about generating funds, okay? Because when you start speaking in terms of criminal justice reform, there is a boatload of money out there for this, okay? The Department of Justice, they have so many programs to assist with individuals that's wanting to do reform. And I want to give some information to those that may access this program at another time. How can you generate funds? One of the big programs that's generating millions and millions of dollars, we're speaking in terms of millions of dollars, is the program called COPS, the Office of Community Oriented and Policy Services. Okay, the Office of Community Oriented and Policing Services. Okay, you can partner with them. They are looking for faith-based organizations to partner with them. You can use your church as a hub. Okay, you can use your church as a hub for the police to come in. You can use your church for training sessions with law enforcement. It can be a place where probation officers can come in and to do just different types of training. Cops will pay you for that. They will pay you for that partnership. There are also programs that's out there that deals with drug addiction, heroin, and all of the different types of those, I can't think of those drugs people are using now, that's the prescription drugs. There are programs, cops provide so many services where you can become a partner and your church can receive these dollars. I want individuals to go to the Department of Justice website, and go to the tab of COPS, the Office of Community Oriented Policing Services. And you can find many, many, many different grant opportunities there for you to partner and get a lot of money to do this service delivery. And if you already have an advisory board in place like you do, it would be very, very, very easy for a church that's already set up doing the groundwork to be a recipient of these grants.
That is awesome. Wow. That's awesome information.
Well, we're almost out of time. I would like for you to have the last few minutes. Again, this is Legal Views with attorney Sheila R. Stewart on CJoy Network and streaming live on Facebook. We have Pastor Anthony Parker with us as our guest. He is an attorney and he is doing a phenomenal job in Cleveland, Ohio. We're so godly proud of you. I want to say hello to First Lady Parker. She is such a beautiful, elegant lady, and we're very grateful for all of the great things she's doing as well, working with you and in her own vein. So I want you to have the last word to give advice on criminal reform using your church, and you've done an outstanding job of covering the advisory boards, what the advisory boards mean, how that information is there in a time of trouble. I would like for you to just wrap it up for us and give us some last final tips on what we can do to be better.
When you begin to look at some of the life stories of the disciples, you begin to realize that Jesus had a way of personally connecting with people and their lives changed. And the disciples went beyond the 12. By the time it was time to open room, there was over 120 some odd people, men and women. He could personally connect. The church is there to help personally connect with people. So get this, not only is it their mindset is right, each one of us, we have talents. And sometimes my heart just cries out when I see our young people using their talents and skills, but they're using them in a way that is destructive. We have to be helpful to be agents of change so that people can use the talents that they have to help further the kingdom of God, and they make a great living for themselves. Jesus said, I'm going to use the talent, Peter, that you all have of fishermen. You don't have to stop being fishermen, but I'm going to teach you how to use that for the kingdom. He used the talents that Matthew had as a tax collector. You're going to be able to use your talents, and we're going to help you. And just because you've had a brush with the criminal justice system does not mean your life is over. Where we see people who are broken, God sees an opportunity to reform and make their life better. Let's join Jesus with reformation.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you so much for being our guest today on C-Joy Network. You've done a phenomenal job, and you have been tuned in to Legal Views with Attorney Stewart, and we're going to turn the rest of the evening back into the hands of Daryl Breath and Donnie Savage with C-Joy. Don't go anywhere, Attorney Parker. We want to have a few words with you once we end the broadcast. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great and wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.